Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're really plunging into a text focused entirely on intentional personal movement, growth.
Yeah, it's drawn from Dr. Bobby Allen's work, Moving Forward.
And this whole deep dive, it kind of orbits around this one really potent verse from Philippians 3.12. But one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forward to those things which are ahead.
In that verse, it really gives us a kind of blueprint, a way to overcome that inertia we all feel sometimes.
Right.
So our mission today is really to extract the practical stuff. The mechanics that let us stop yesterday, our past failures, maybe even past successes, disappointments, from controlling where we go now.
Yeah.
Dr. Allen is super clear. Life is a journey, right?
Yeah.
Not a destination.
Okay.
Which means, fundamentally, we should always be in motion. So we need to figure out what's the toolkit, what do we actually need to move forward when we hear that call.
It sounds so simple, though, doesn't it? Just move forward. But man, when you're actually standing still, it can feel huge, insurmountable, totally. But Dr. Allen breaks it down. He gives us these 4 essential steps, and they're all connected.
Right.
So we're going to unpack these 4 pillars for you. First, how do we even do that? The forgetting the past bit? Then what about this active effort? This reaching forward, what does that really demand from us?
Yeah, the action part.
And third, why is having a clear purpose, like a destination, why is that non-negotiable?
The why behind the movement.
Exactly. And maybe most critically, when it all gets exhausting, and it will, where do we find the strength, the fuel to keep going? Okay, let's start with maybe the trickiest one psychologically. You can't move forward while looking back. When the text says we need to be forgetting those things which are behind, what does that actually mean? Because, logically, you can't just erase history, right? Or trauma.
That's the absolute core of it, and yeah, that's where a lot of people get stuck. Dr. Allen makes it really clear, forgetting isn't like getting amnesia about history. It's definitely not about pretending the pain or the past events never happened. It's more of a deliberate daily refusal.
A refuse?
Yeah, refusing to give the past the power to control your choices today or to define who you are tomorrow. The past gives us information, sure, it shapes us. But we have to choose not to let it become this permanent prison cell that paralyzes us.
So, okay, the past can be like a compass maybe, pointing out lessons learned, but it's destructive if it becomes an anchor.
Precisely. That's a great way to put it. And that destructive power, it often comes from that constant loop in our heads, right? Yeah. The mental and emotional replay.
Oh, yeah.
The source talks about those common traps. Replaying old failures, disappointments, maybe betrayals, just over and over again. It's like
a broken record.
Exactly, like a broken record stuck in your mind.
Yeah. We
pour so much energy into warning relationships that are definitely over, or agonizing about choices we made that, we just can't undo now.
It feels almost protective sometimes, though, doesn't it? Like if I just keep analyzing the wound, maybe I can stop the next one. But the cost of that obsession, it's huge.
It is astronomical. And Dr. Allen uses some really intense biblical examples to show just how high that cost is. Think about Lot's wife.
Right, in Genesis.
Yeah. She was physically moving away from destruction towards safety, towards the future. But she turned back. Genesis 19 says she looked back, and it cost her everything.
Wow.
And it probably wasn't just, the physical act of craning her neck. It was the emotional pull, that longing for the life, even the messed up life she had to leave behind. That attachment, that inability to let go, it sealed her fate.
That really hits home. It shows you can be physically moving forward, but your heart, your mind is completely stuck in the past. You're not really moving at all.
Exactly. And the flip side is the incredible opportunity that comes with looking forward. It's tied to this promise in Isaiah 43. Behold, I'm doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? The perspective here is, look, if your focus, your energy, all your attention is constantly locked on that rearview mirror, you're basically making yourself incapable of even seeing the new thing, the new opportunity, the healing, the breakthrough that might already be starting to happen right in front of you in this present moment. You just can't perceive it.
Okay, so we've made that tough choice, theoretically at least, to stop giving the past control. The next pillar seems to be about immediate action. Dr. Allen says, you must reach forward with faith. So this isn't just passively hoping things improve. This reach sounds strenuous, vigorous. What does that look like, practically speaking?
Yeah, reach is the key word there. It really implies maximum effort, determination, and faith all bundled together. Moving forward is presented as very intentional. It requires leaning in, actively.
Okay.
It often means stepping out of what's known, what's comfortable, maybe even what feels safe, even when the path ahead looks totally uncertain or, frankly, doesn't make logical sense. You're straining forward like a runner, really leaning into the tape at the finish line.
Straining, though, that implies using your own strength, right? But later on, we're going to talk about waiting on, well, a higher power for strength. How do those two fit together? Is Dr. Allen saying push till you drop or wait till you feel ready?
That tension.
Yeah.
That's actually key to this whole deep dive.
Right.
Between the pushing and the resting or waiting, the reaching we're talking about here, it's more like the demonstration of obedience,
Yeah.
of faith, even when your own resources feel totally drained.
Okay, I see.
And Dr. Allen uses maybe one of the most powerful examples ever of this kind of intentional movement against impossible odds.
Yeah.
The children of Israel trapped at the Red Sea.
Right. They're completely hemmed in. You've got Pharaoh's army, the biggest military power around, chasing them from behind, and then this huge sea right in front. Panic seems like the only logical response there.
Absolutely. And their human reaction was panic. They stopped, they freaked out, they started complaining, saying they should have just stayed slaves in Egypt.
Yeah.
But what does God tell Moses? Exodus 14.15, he says, tell the people to go forward.
Which, as the text points out, was just absurd. Physically, logically, there's no bridge, no boats, no way across. Stepping forward should have meant drowning immediately.
Exactly. And this is the profound insight. Faith isn't waiting until conditions are perfect, until the bridge is built and you can see the other side clearly.
Right.
Faith is trusting that the way will actually be made as you move.
Right.
Dr. Allen really emphasizes this. Sometimes God doesn't part the sea until you take the first step. That intentional reaching, that step into the absurd, that is what creates the space for the miracle, for the divine intervention.
Wow.
You have to show your conviction through your action first. So the forward movement is the first act of faith.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of resolves that seeming contradiction we talked about.
Okay, so that intentional movement, that really vigorous reaching we just talked about, that brings us to the direction piece, because you can move really fast, but if you're just moving sideways, you're not actually getting anywhere useful.
Exactly. Wasted energy.
And Dr. Allen connects this intentionality directly to the ultimate goal. He points to Paul's declaration in Philippians 3.13. I press toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. So forward seems tightly linked to purpose.
Absolutely. If the movement isn't tied to a defined telos, a clear destination, it just leads to, well, aimless exhaustion.
Yeah.
The key analysis here is that the destination isn't just forward on a flat line.
Yeah.
It's upward. This upward call suggests something higher spiritual growth, maybe professional excellence, deep personal healing. Forward is where your calling is waiting. It's where the real joy is, the victory. That's the prize Paul says he's pressing toward.
And without that clear goal, that upward direction, we risk ending up like the Israelites wandering in the wilderness. I mean, technically they were moving, right, but they were just stuck perpetually.
That's the perfect contrast. Purposeful movement versus stagnation.
Right.
They were moving, but it was just this cycle of aimless wandering. Why? Because their hearts, as the text says, kept looking back to Egypt. They were dwelling on the garlic and onions, the memory of perceived security back in slavery, instead of pressing toward the freedom and the destiny that was actually ahead of them.
Wow.
That constant looking back, that rear view focus, it completely blinded them to the purpose. So they just walked in circles for 40 years.
The lesson there is just so clear, isn't it? Aimless movement is just exhaustion pretending to be progress. It really sounds like the smartest thing the spiritual enemy, or just our own inertia, can do is keep us stuck internally, paralyzed by focusing on the past struggle, the guilt, the failure, maybe even the weird comfort of what we already know.
That's the goal of the distraction, absolutely. But the counter move, that constant press toward the goal, it's fueled by faith. Faith in that promise back in Philippians 1.6, that the divine who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. Your past doesn't get the final say on that good work. The completion, the purpose ahead, that's what defines it.
Okay, let's circle back to that exhaustion piece we touched on earlier. Moving forward, this reaching, it takes effort, real effort. It requires intentional action, and yeah, it often involves tears, carrying scars, dealing with deep uncertainty. It's not always some happy sprint.
Not at all.
So if the journey is this tough, Dr. Allen must talk about what happens when we just run out of steam, right? That inevitable fatigue, emotional and physical.
Yeah.
How does the text handle depleted strength?
Yeah, Dr. Allen is incredibly realistic about the emotional toll of this kind of intentional movement. And that's precisely why this fourth pillar, it relies completely on an external source.
Okay.
It emphasizes dependence. specifically leaning on God for strength, because our own human endurance, it always runs out eventually.
Yeah.
It just does. That grace, that divine strength is what carries you when your own legs, your own spirit are just too worn out to take another step.
And this brings us right back to that tension point we raised. Waiting versus reaching. If reaching is the immediate act of faith, the first step, what does waiting on the Lord really mean here? It can't just mean sitting around in the context of moving forward.
Exactly. It's the crucial difference between active reliance and passive stagnation. Waiting here isn't passive at all. It's active reliance. It's surrendering your own self-sufficiency, admitting your limits, and consciously tapping into an unlimited resource.
I see.
And the specific Bible promise that really unpacks this mechanism beautifully is Isaiah 40.31.
Okay, yeah. Tell us what stands out about that incredible imagery of renewal in that verse.
Well, what's fascinating is the sort of sequence of energy that gets applied to the movement. It starts with a core promise. But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. So reliance comes first.
Right.
And this reliance immediately translates into extraordinary power. The ability to mount up with wings like eagles, that's the sprint, right? The breakthrough moment, the season of high energy soaring vision.
But Dr. Allen doesn't just leave us there feeling like superheroes all the time. It then shifts, doesn't it, into the long haul.
Precisely. After the soaring eagle part, you get sustained effort. They shall run and not be weary. Okay, this is the determined grind, the season where the purpose demands focus, persistence, just keeping going.
Yeah.
But maybe even more reassuring is that final phrase, they shall walk and not faint. And let's be honest, that covers most of life, right?
Definitely.
That slow, sometimes difficult, sometimes really monotonous process of just putting one foot in front of the other. It assures you that even in those slowest steps, when you feel like you have absolutely nothing left in the tank, you will not collapse. Why? Because the strength isn't ultimately yours anyway. The waiting is the refueling. It's that constant connection back to the source that makes the sustained reaching even possible.
Wow. That really brings the closing message together perfectly. Your past. It doesn't get veto power over your future. A setback, it's just one chapter. It's not the end of your story. Pain isn't permanent. We're really urged to get up, accept that external strength, and just press on because the goal, that upward call, that destination, it's not denied to us. Hashtag outro. So just to recap the toolkit for moving forward that Dr. Allen lays out. First, you've got to refuse to let the past control you. Second, you have to engage in that vigorous, intentional reaching. Third, consistently press toward a defined upward purpose. And fourth, crucially, rely completely on a renewed external strength to keep you going.
Yeah, this whole deep dive, it really gives us a powerful operating principle for life. Doesn't matter if you're dealing with a small personal failure or facing some massive Red Sea kind of uncertainty.
Right.
You just can't afford to wait. You can't wait for the fog to lift or the path to be perfectly paved or for absolute clarity before you start moving. The way opens up, the strength gets renewed, the sea parts after you take that first, often scary step of faith. The movement itself unlocks the miracle.
The source material finishes with this really powerful reflection, kind of a prayer, asking for release from the weight of the past. So here's a final thought for you to maybe wrestle with this week. When you really think about those specific connections, maybe old relationships, lingering guilt, missed opportunities, the things that feel like actual weights tied to your ankles, which one feels the heaviest right now? And if you were to apply that intentional effort, that active reaching we talked so much about today, and actually decide to cut loose that single heaviest weight, how might that release, that necessary unburdening, fundamentally change the speed, maybe even the direction of your forward movement in the next month or so? Something to think about. Go press on.